What is up, everyone? Dan here, Crypto Capital Venture, Sunday, October 13th, 2019. I hope you're doing well. I haven't done a Litecoin video, and I've gotten a lot of comments on Twitter, YouTube, asking for an update. What are my thoughts on Litecoin price? If you're here, you're a replay viewer, I know I'm going to get the comments. $40 versus $120. Could the range be any more ridiculous? I agree. It's a ridiculous range, but welcome to cryptocurrency. It's actually one of the things that attracts people. It's one of the things that actually attracts me to cryptocurrency. The volatility, the potential for gains, the potential for short-term and long-term gains, the potential for short-term dips, which present opportunity. That's what we're talking about today. Litecoin, truly, $40 versus $120. I'm going to talk about both. Both scenarios are real. At the end of the day, just be ready for either one, because pretty much either one is going to happen, right? Maybe they'll both happen, but either way, they're going to probably happen. We're probably not trading sideways much longer, and you have to be ready. Don't take this as financial advice. Just look at the data, sit back at the end of the day, look at your own finances, and make your own decision of how you want to accumulate and what you want to do in terms of buying cryptocurrency. Right? Don't listen to YouTubers. This is not financial advice. So let's start. Let's talk about Litecoin. I tweeted a little bit ago. I said there's much talk of another drop for Litecoin. To me, that scenario looks like a floor at around $45 with possible quick capitulation to high 30s. I rounded at 40. This target is based on the very clear head and shoulders formed in July and August. I'm ready and excited for every scenario. So that's essentially one of my tweets from earlier today. And actually, real quick, I just want to go to another one. I tweeted this because we're going to talk about this today as well. Actually, we're going to start with this. I said I was just looking at Litecoin Bitcoin pair and realized it looks a lot like I said BTS USD. Oops, I meant BTC USD at bear market low in December. Definitely keep your eye on Litecoin. So let's start with those charts. This is LTC BTC pair that you see on the screen. What I was saying in that tweet is simple. Look at this pair. This is the 50 moving average on the daily chart. This is Litecoin. Obviously, just quick zoom out context. We've come down, right? And now we're in this scenario where we're under the 50 moving average. We're down a lot against Bitcoin. And this is what the charts look like. So in my tweet, I was basically referencing the similarities in terms of, let me zoom out actually for context. Here's Bitcoin on the USD pair. This is zoomed in on the bear market low. You can see Bitcoin struggling below the 50 moving average on the daily charts. And this was the bottom, right? Back here, this was December 15th, $3,100 or so. And everybody remembers that. And if you look at the LTZ BTC pair right now, there's a lot of similarities in terms of the momentum, in terms of what Litecoin is doing after being so overextended to the downside and oversold to the downside, and then confluent with the 50 moving average, and we're starting to kind of form this little this symmetrical triangle here that was very similar to the bottom over at Bitcoin, right? So what happened with Bitcoin is, we had some resistance here at the 50-day moving average a few times, right? And then there was just this consolidation going into the apex of this triangle. And then we all know we got that breakout. Then we got support at the top of the triangle and above the 50-day moving average on Bitcoin. And then it was just, the story after that. Bitcoin was making its move to see new highs. Well, not all-time highs, but short-term highs out of the bear market low. So Litecoin is in a very similar position. Starting to form this setup of higher lows you see here, and then we have our lower highs, and we have a symmetrical triangle setup, and then we have this resistance, very similar with what Bitcoin was doing on USD at the 50-day moving average, and we're getting this consolidation, it seems, going into the apex, right? So maybe this can go on for another month, right? But we're getting close to Litecoin doing something. Many people hoping for a breakout like Bitcoin did on the USD pair, right? But look at the similarities. Very, very important to take note of these things, because these are the things that we've tracked. I've been doing these videos for like a year and a half now, almost every day, these are the similarities that we always revisit and we track, because these setups happen over and over again. The consistency and the harmony in these charts that continue to repeat themselves, right, in their own little cycles is very telling. It doesn't give us guarantee that it's always going to keep happening again. However, it just does keep happening again. And I think that's extremely important to note. I'm zooming out on the chart here on the LTC BTC pair, and just take note of this. I'm just looking at this right now, and I wasn't going to talk about this, but look at the last swing low that Litecoin had in December 2018. This was the low of the bear market for Litecoin as well. But it was, Litecoin was at a swing low on the LTC BTC pair. But just look at what was going on there. There was kind of this falling wedge setup, right, at that low. And right in between that, we have the 50 moving average. We have resistance at the 50 moving average on the daily chart. And then we had the breakout, right? So it's very common for not just Litecoin, but Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, when hitting a low, to kind of fall into this pattern, especially a bullish pattern like a falling wedge, and then finally break resistance and kind of make its way to a new swing high, right? So that's potentially what could be happening right now. Many people will say, well, Dan, a symmetrical triangle is a continuation pattern, right? This would be a continuation pattern to the downside. Litecoin's going to break down. Potentially, it could happen. I'm not going to sit here and say it won't. In that case, Litecoin will look even more bullish on the LTC BTC pair, because then we start putting in lower lows, right? And then we have a falling wedge scenario right here, in which case Litecoin early 2020 might make a break finally out of this low. So I don't know how long this is going to go for, but that's what Litecoin's looking like on the LTC BTC pair. So it's something to watch, something to keep track of. I don't trade the LTC BTC pair. I like accumulating both. Most recently, I don't know why, extremely keen on accumulating Bitcoin over Litecoin. I'm very happy with both positions, but just for some reason, Bitcoin's under 10,000. I feel like this will be the last time it's under 10,000. Don't know when we're finally going to get a break. However, I'm very, very interested in just accumulating Bitcoin as much as I can. So let's talk about Litecoin USD. Poseidon Lou, thank you, dude. $9.99 super chat. Thanks for all you do, Dan. I appreciate that. Dude, Lou, you never fail me in making these. I don't know how you do it. I appreciate your support, man. Thank you for the super chat for Launchpad Foundation. Appreciate you, dude. I really do. LTC USD, this is what we're looking at. So I just showed you a tweet, and this is the downside. I'm going to talk about the downside, and then in a second we'll get to, a break to the upside. So on the downside, this is a very clear formation that we've seen kind of start forming, in June, but really start forming together end of July into August, right? Here's that right shoulder right here on this head and shoulder. So left shoulder, we have the head, we have the right shoulder. Here's our neckline, and you can see Litecoin literally August 15th broke to the downside below that neckline. We always want to see if we get a break back up to test the neckline, right? A busted head and shoulders is one of the most bullish things you could look for from a pattern perspective. It did not happen. Actually, we didn't even retest the neckline, which is up here, or was up here right at the 200 moving average around $88. We didn't even test that because we saw resistance at the 50 moving average. Short term, mid-term, that might have been the most bearish thing we could have possibly seen in terms of Litecoin, was this resistance here. But that's what happened. So in the scenario where Litecoin continues, right, it's follow through in hitting its targets, which is this head and shoulders target, the height of the top of this head to the neckline. We're looking at around $45, maybe down to $40 as a target, right? So down here. And to give you context into what that looks like price range wise from where we are right now, $57, $45 would be 21%. $40 would be around 30%. So this is the downside. This is a downside target at that point. Litecoin, let me delete that. Litecoin on the RSIs, this is the daily chart. Litecoin would be way oversold if we do reach that point. For me personally, I will be picking up some Litecoin at that point. It would be such a good opportunity, for my opinion. But that's a breakout target that we'd be looking at for the downside for Litecoin. Now, I want to just give you some perspective or context to a move like that, right? 20 to 30% to the downside. And to do that, I want to go to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, where Bitcoin's trading, and I'm not going to turn this into a Bitcoin technical analysis, but from where Bitcoin is trading right now, we have let's call it 25% to the downside. We have around $6,400. Now, a move like that would be extremely harmonious with Litecoin moving into the $40 head and shoulder breakouts to the downside target, right? 20 to 30%. Bitcoin would be extremely harmonious with that at 25% to 6,400. Why is 6,400 relevant? I did a video a few days ago. Go check it out if you have some time, talking about it was following a tweet that I found, really good tweet based on mining costs and Bitcoin finding a floor right around $6,400. It makes a lot of sense from technical perspective, technical analysis perspective. It also makes sense. So all of these things coming together really gives a realistic scenario on a move like this. If something like this happened for Bitcoin, same thing. Extremely oversold at that point on the daily, on the weekly chart. It would be an incredible area of accumulation if you have that risk tolerance, right? If you're here playing this long game like I am, maybe you'll be accumulating as well. I don't know. But going over to Litecoin, what I want to do is zoom out, right? We talk about all these things, so let's zoom out a little bit and tie it all together. Zoomed out on Litecoin, Litecoin looks like it's just finding its higher low, right? From the bear market low that we had in December, right? So whether it's right now in the 50s, or if we do get a breakout to like 35 or 40, right? Based on our target that we just talked about, Litecoin will be setting up a very, very healthy higher low, right? Even getting close to this long-term lower trend line. So if that happens, Litecoin's still looking bullish. Higher lows are what we want, especially on a weekly setup, because they paint the picture of longer term gains and longer term breakouts. So those are my thoughts in terms of Litecoin. And actually, what I want to show you on this Litecoin chart is, if I can get to it, is the RSI, the stock RSI. So we already know, especially if you look at the bottom here, this stock RSI, the momentum oscillator, quicker moving momentum oscillator, Litecoin's already looking like a great area of accumulation where it is right now. If it dips another 20 to 30%, it's so far gone, it's so far oversold. And again, if you have the money that you can afford to lose and you're keen on buying Litecoin, this isn't financial advice, but I couldn't think of a better setup to accumulate and take that risk. I'm not telling you to do that. This is my opinion. I just want to throw that out there. From a technical analysis perspective, that is my opinion. You can even just pull up the charts yourself. You can look at them. I mean, look where we are right now for Litecoin. We want to draw a line on the RSI, on the weekly, right around 40. We know that anytime Litecoin is under 40, that is the prime time for accumulating at great prices, right? And usually we're not there very long historically for the lifetime of Litecoin. So that's important data to take into account, to keep in the back of your mind, because if you are here long term and if you do want to take that risk, these are the types of things you have to kind of keep in mind. So breakout to 120. We're around 15 minutes into the video. Just as a mental note for myself, a breakout to 120 is really based on this chart, right? We have this falling wedge. It's a very large falling wedge for Litecoin. Litecoin loves these types of setups, these types of moves. And really this plays into the higher low mentality for Litecoin, the higher low setup, right? So again, whether it's here, whether it's down here around $40, $45, Litecoin's setting, I think, in my opinion, is setting up for a very bullish move. And this is all in context to Bitcoin charts as well, also setting up for a bullish move to enter the bull market. Again, this could happen early 2020. We might have to be patient for a while here, everybody. But in my opinion, very bullish move setup, whether we go down to the $40 target area or not. A breakout out of this falling wedge does bring us to around 120. Now, again, this is something that takes time. I know a lot of people are going to watch this video, and I think in their mind they're like, man, I want Litecoin to moon, right? And they want it to happen now. And it just doesn't happen like that, especially with longer term targets. This isn't like a 4-hour chart where we're looking at, or an hourly chart where we're looking at a pattern target. This is a pattern that extends back to June and we're in the middle of it. We're not even at a trend line, upper or lower. So this is going to take time, but the breakout is simple. Whether we find a floor somewhere in here down to 40, right, or the high 30s, the breakout target would be around 120, right? And that 120, by the time we got there, in my opinion, just speculatively speaking, from watching these charts for so long, we'd be extremely overbought, right? And at that point, there would be some room for correction, right? So correction could look like anything from trading sideways for a while, trading sideways down to 100, maybe into the 80s, right? But we're always looking for the shorter term consolidation. And this is how I look at the charts. I'm always speculating the possible setups because, and these possible speculative setups are based on historical performance and moves of Litecoin. So I'm looking for a bullish pattern setup. I'm looking for a bullish move for Litecoin that's going to propel it to its next all-time high. That's what I'm speculating on. That's what I'm looking for. And obviously there's so much patience involved in this game. This very speculative chart that I just drew very quickly, this takes us into 2020 of October, right? This is a year from now. And this could take even longer. So, this is how I play the game. This is how I approach the game. And, I think it's extremely important just to always zoom out on the charts, mess around with it, draw your own stuff and draw your own scenarios, good scenarios, bullish scenarios, but also bearish scenarios. And then look at the timeline that's involved in these things and potentially happening. None of this that I'm drawing or talking about is going to happen right away, right? So the patience is the name of the game here. For me, I'm grateful that I can just kind of, do some charting with you, share the data with you, accumulate when I want to, and then just go back to my life, right? Go back to running business, go back to recruiting for startups, and then get distracted with that, and then check in on the charts every once in a while. That's kind of my approach. It keeps me level-headed. It keeps me in the game, I guess you could say, and it takes the emotionality out of it, right? And so do the charts. This weekly chart for Litecoin really takes the emotionality out of it. I'd venture to say right now is a beautiful time of accumulation. And then if we do get a target down to $40 or so, again, this RSI even more oversold at that point. And again, a beautiful area of accumulation. And from a technical analysis perspective, leaving all emotion aside, these are the types of things I look at. So that's my thought. Those are my thoughts. Wanted to share them with you today. I hope you're doing well. Let me know in the chats how you're doing. Press 1 if you're bullish on Litecoin on the short term. Press 2 if you're bearish, meaning are we getting ready to start our break up to 120 targets, or do we still have that last leg down? Press 2 if you think we have a last leg down to the 40s, maybe high 30s. 1 for bullish, we're going up. 2 for bearish, 1 more leg down. And Neo Patriot says 1, 2. I think that's the best approach, 1 or 2, because either one could happen. I'm not here to tell you what I think is going to happen. I'm here to tell you either one can happen, and be ready for each, because that is how you approach these markets. We definitely have a nice little mix in the chats. I think a little bit more bullishness, but definitely a mix. Thanks for the subscribe, and I don't remember your question, but you're welcome for asking. You're welcome for asking Charlie the question. That's all it took to get you to subscribe, huh? Yeah, I don't think we'll see $200 this year either. Interesting thoughts in the comments. I love your guys' perspective. I appreciate you sharing it. It's always fun for me to see how you're feeling out there. I'm feeling bullish. We're at obviously at the lower trend line of all bullishness, right? We're at the beginning of something special, in my opinion. The momentum oscillators speak to that. The charts speak to that. The pattern setups speak to that. Litecoin's looking great from a technical analysis perspective. And I can tell you, I'm very much long-term bullish on Litecoin and Bitcoin. So let's see what happens. Let's see how things play out. If you're here right now and you're not a subscriber, hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you as part of the channel. I really would. Can't wait for us to enjoy some gains. It's not guaranteed, but I have a good feeling. I have a good sense about it. Appreciate you all. I hope you have a beautiful, awesome, blessed Sunday today, October 13th. I will see you in the next video. Have a good day, and God bless.